Well, welcome once again to Pale Blooms and Beyond. Thank you for joining us today. Claudio Gabis is an Argentine guitarist, pianist, composer, and music teacher. In his home country, he is recognized as one of the originators of the rock movement, as well as being a blues pioneer. Throughout his musical career, Claudio has worked in the rock, blues, R&B, and jazz fusion genres. Early brief stints in El Grupo de Gaston and Los Abuelos de Nada in the late 60s helped Claudio hone his craft. From 1968 to 1971, he was a member of rock trio Manal, one of the founders of Argentine rock. The band released a couple of albums during their time together. Afterwards, Mr. Gabis branched out on his own with two fine albums, 1972's Claudio Gabis y la Pesada and 1974's self-titled release. More recently, Claudio has produced several more solo albums and collaborated with many other artists, too many to mention in our limited time and space. And today marks the 50th anniversary of the album Claudio Gabis y la Pesada. Mr. Gabis is revered as one of the all-time best blues and blues rock guitarists from Argentina. Well, welcome, Claudio.
Hello, Greg. Hello. Here
Thank,
I'm still, I'm really now in Madrid, where I live in since 35 years ago. Uh,
ah, that's a long time.
it's a
Yeah.
long time. I go very often to Argentina. In fact, every year I go to make a big tour. It was stopped, of course, during the pandemic,
Yeah.
but last July, June and July, I recover. I was once again on the road, and it was great uh, being in my country once again for doing more than I think about 23 concerts all around the country.
That's a lot of concerts, though.
Yeah,
Yeah. Well, take us back to the beginning. Where were you born?
I was born in Buenos Aires, in Argentina,
Okay.
in 1949. It means last year and last millennium.
Right.
And a long time ago, uh, in I grew up in Argentina, in Buenos Aires. Uh, went to school, high school, and all that things, and I began with music in Buenos Aires.
Okay. Did you come from a musical family?
Not professionally,
Oh,
but uh, really a family who used to love music a lot. Especially my mother, she went to classes, to piano classes during I think about 14 years when
oh, really?
she was young. Um, so in my house was playing of music and and especially classical music and Argentinian popular music. It means tango and folk music. Um, and so music was really our daily soundtrack,
Yes.
during all day long.
Yes.
But we were extremely far away from what everything that means to be a professional musician.
Oh,
That was one thing that I I'm sure my parents uh, didn't think any time about my future when I
oh,
was young.
okay. Okay. Right. Well, Do you remember, did you have a record player or a stereo to play
Of,
records on?
of course.
Yeah.
I we got one that was very famous. I mean, very popular in Argentina. Was an Argentina one. Um, the name was Winco. Maybe you ha- maybe you read something about. It was a very small, uh, and extremely bad record player, but was all around the country. Millions of that fucking players, and we got, of course, also a big RCA
Oh, okay.
record player, radio, and and clothes washer all together,
Oh yeah,
and
they were all combined.
and maybe some possibility of cooking food also in the same machine. Well, I'm kidding, but it was it was a big one, and it was the main one in my house, and it was it was how to say sounding all day long.
Okay. Do you remember the early singles? Were they like this with the little hole, or were
Yeah,
they with
of
the big hole?
course.
They were like that. They weren't like this. This is how the American they
Yeah,
had
yeah,
the
yeah. I got both because
okay.
the small one was I mean the one with the little hole
Uh-huh.
was for 33 RPM.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah, and the one with the big hole
Uh-huh.
was for 45
Yes, yes,
RPM, at least in Argentina.
yes.
Yes.
Now see in America, we were just like you. You know, this was the 45, but their singles in UK were like this. We're
Yeah,
just
yeah. We got both. We got
okay,
both.
okay. All right. Just a little visual thing. I want. So do you talk about some of the musicians as you became a teenager, some of the musicians and bands that you started liking that you were
Well,
getting in?
um, let's separate
Uh-huh.
two um, eras, two
Okay.
timings.
Uh-huh.
The first, let's put a barrier, let's put a wall in the middle.
Hmm.
Uh, that wall is Beatles.
Okay.
Um, the whole British Revolution, the whole beginning of the British tsunami.
Yes,
Uh,
tsunami.
yes. Um, Before Beatles, and I came into one of the ways, let's say, let's talk that way, um, to get girls, no,
Uh-huh.
getting girls, that was dancing.
Okay. Okay.
At the time, dancing was one of the few possibilities we had to approximate moderately, moderately, uh, slowly, and, and with care to girls. So you had to dance. It
Okay.
was one thing. It was a condition, to if you want to to pick up girls,
Uh-huh.
you need to dance. That was the slogan.
Okay.
So I was that was my first contact, a strong contact with American music,
Okay.
with with the music from the United States. In that moment, there was in between the rock and roll music. I mean, the 50s, Elvis. and all the other guys. And uh, what began to happen in the 60s, there was all that guys, all that singers, all that rock and roll rebels and and people who was into the revolution of the rock and roll went to ballads,
Right.
went
Right.
to some kind of melodic music.
Yes.
Um, it
Yes.
is very clear when you analyze and when you listen to Elvis. He left some way his attitude of um, riot,
Mm,
of out of law singer, getting into that melodic music that
yeah.
all the other people, all the other artists began uh, to play also, to sing. And I went into listen to some singers like Johnny Tillotson. I don't know if you know
Yes.
him.
I know Johnny Tillotson. Yeah.
eh,
Yeah.
Especially, I remember a song "Judy, Judy, Judy" was
Uh-huh.
was a hit. Um, Brian Hyland,
Yes. Brian Hyland. Yes. Uh-huh.
Brian Hyland.
Uh-huh.
Um, the hit I remember was "Let Us Make Our Own Mistakes," something
Yeah.
like that,
Yes.
with a strong Tex-Mex ambience, a lot of mariachis
Yes.
sound. Um, uh, but at the same time, I began to listen. It's still not making a big difference between them. Right, Charles,
Okay. Okay.
for
Right.
example. Of course, some Chuck Berry.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Um, and of course, I, I, I was listening before that that time. I was listening to rock and roll,
Hmm.
but when I began to dance with the importance, it was I explained I explained to you it happened. Um, I was into that kind of melodic music with some hits in a faster tempo,
Tempo.
like for
Yes.
example, what I say, right, Charles?
Right. Right.
Eh? Um, that was the kind of music I was listening before Beatles, and
Okay.
then came Beatles
Uh-huh.
and Rolling Stones and all that music that was mixing up. Um, I would say all the tradition of um, Anglo-Saxon music. They got some folk music from the islands, some folk music from the States, bluegrass, hillbilly, rock, um, blues, of course, blues, a little bit of jazz, eh? And
Yeah.
then um, I I began to realize about the part of that music was especially um, nice, fine. Uh, I like it especially, and I
Okay.
didn't know what was the do you say the ingredient? The
Ingredient. Yeah.
ingredient
Yeah.
um, that it that was part of that the music I was uh, liking more the other until I discovered through a friend of mine, a piano player, who is now living in the States, in Los Angeles. Emilio Cauderer is the name.
Okay.
He's a soundtrack, a film soundtrack writer, very
Okay.
famous in Argentina. He lives in Los Angeles, in LA. Through him, I began to get involved into jazz
Oh,
music.
okay.
And then I discovered that exists a lot of music that we can call Afro-American music.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Mm. So the music that came, that was originated in the fusion between the cultures that came from Africa and through more than five centuries uh, uh, was into a strong evolution
Yeah.
until become a very unique and a special music that was especially generated by Afro-American people in the States.
Yes.
Um, what I discovered was um, that I like it, especially and that all pop music I was listening to, I discovered that mostly the, the music I preferred was the music that came from Afro-American tradition.
Okay. I understand. Well, you took piano lessons originally, didn't you?
Yeah, very originally, because I took lessons when I was about 6 years or seven
Okay.
years.
Very young.
I don't
Very.
remember. I went to classes in the same block I used to live with my parents. Um, I went to classes during about uh, 1 month,
Okay.
and I learned one little small classical piece in the key of C,
Uh-huh.
um, just by ear.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Um, and when I got to putting together that piece, my teacher, she told me, okay, now you are gonna get a, a book, um, not a book, something to write,
Uh-huh. Yeah.
a, a cuaderno,
Notebook. Notebook. Yeah.
notebook, yeah,
Yeah.
cuaderno in Spanish, cuaderno,
Okay.
um, with pentagrams,
Okay.
and we're gonna start learning solfeo.
Oh,
I
okay.
mean, writing and reading music. And it took me not more than a couple of classes to say a goodbye for good to my my nice and pretty uh, young girl that was teaching me.
Yeah.
Um, I left piano. I left music lessons.
Mm-hmm.
Um, well, if I think it was when I was 6, so for about 10 years, I didn't try to play any instrument anymore.
Okay. Okay. And that was the guitar. You started playing the guitar.
Of
Uh,
course, of
yes.
course.
And
And
tell how I want to tell how you put together your own amplifier. You built your own amplifier.
well, um, I don't know why. I don't know really why, but I got a little about 1 year before taking the guitar.
Hmm.
I took it with 16 years old. When I was 16 years old, I I I, I bought my guitar, my first guitar. Not yes, when I was 16 years, but 1 year and a half before that, I don't know why I went to learn. by myself electricity and electronics. I don't
Oh,
know
okay.
why.
Okay. You don't know.
I don't know. Maybe some friend of mine, uh, some of my friends was into that. I don't remember, but I I bought some books, a whole set of books of electricity, one, two, three, four, five, and the same for electronic. And I
Right.
got into that, and I began to um, make things
Okay.
like a first Galena radio. I don't know how do you call it in English. I mean the more elementary radio.
Like
Um,
transistor radio? Was it?
no, no,
No,
the oldest
the older
one.
one. Okay.
Yeah, one that was from the first type of radio receptors that exist. Um, I, w- I made one of these, and I began to do different things with my hobby, my electric trains. I'm
Oh, yes, yes,
into railroad modeling.
yes.
Uh, it's my
I want to talk
hobby.
about that. Talk about that too, but go
Yeah,
ahead. Go ahead.
and I went to fix out things in my house, to electricity things, and, and then I came to try to put together an amplifier. Um, and I didn't go very far, uh, so far from with that. But when I some- after this year or 2 years, I bought my guitar. Then I decided that I had to make it seriously, and I got it. I really put together my first amplifier. That was the first real thing I I I I made in electronic. Um, I really have to recognize it wasn't very good.
It worked. It worked. Yeah.
It yeah, it worked, but not it. I couldn't get the sound, the soundings I
Hmm.
was looking for. I was
Okay.
looking for that kind of sound that I began to listen in blues players because I was already listening mm, first at all people like Michael Bloomfield
Uh-huh. Right. Yeah.
with the Butterfield
Yeah.
and with Bob Dylan. Dylan
Hmm.
was Dylan was definitely was my main influence at the time.
Okay.
I've been getting away from Beatles. I
Yeah.
discovered Dylan, and I was into Dylan, and I went into Dylan. So I was listening to Michael Bloomfield. Then I discovered Eric Clapton
Oh,
um, and BB King,
right.
between others, and and I wanted to sound like them. And my amplifier was sounding like a let's say clean water. And
Okay.
I wanted really muddy water.
Yeah.
I
Muddy.
wanted a distorted sound. I
Yeah.
wanted sustain, and I couldn't get it with my amplifier.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right. Well, you re recall the trip that you made to the U.S. in 1967 with your family? You did a
Yeah,
lot of you went record shopping, didn't you?
yeah, it was a dramatic, tragic. It was a shame, a family, a family disaster.
Oh, really?
Yeah, yeah, because um, I went to the States because I got a lot of family, my mother's family living in the state in both sides of the country. A lot of people in New York,
Okay.
East Coast, and a lot of people in San Francisco, Sacramento, LA, West Coast. So my mother um, wished to know the family,
Mhm.
and we decided to go. We three, my father, my mother, and me, um, to make that trip. So we went first to the East Coast, New York. After we crossed the country, uh, westbound. Um, and I took a list. I took a long list of records
Uh,
that I was considering at the time. Excuse me.
sure.
Uh, I considered that was the basic record library that I needed for going on, learning and playing music, and of course enjoying myself with
Uh-huh.
music. It was 120. I mean, 120, 120 records.
Wow.
Uh, I look into your library after
Uh-huh.
you. It was much more than you have
Yeah.
in the image behind you.
Yeah. Yes.
It was a lot. Was
Yeah.
kind of big mountain of records. Um, and right after um, after getting in New York, the second day I was in New York, I went to the biggest uh, record store in New York. Was the name was Sam Goody's. Was
Sam Good.
a very famous place, the
Yes.
biggest one,
Yes.
and with my list. And
Mhm.
I got about 30, 25 because I couldn't carry more
Right.
of them. Um, well, my parents' faces got really, uh, bad faces,
Yes.
eh?
Yes. Yes.
Faces of, uh, I don't know how to say, they didn't like it. They
Right.
didn't like it.
Right.
But next day or the other, I went again. I went back to some goodies, and I got 25 more.
Uh, yeah.
We are counting now 50,
Uh-huh.
50 or fucking LP records.
Uh-huh.
And then 2 days after it, I got 10 more.
Yeah.
So my father took all the money he he gave me to my own spending
Account. Yeah.
wishes,
Yeah. Yeah.
and say that's it,
That's it.
no more records.
Yeah.
And he was very upset with a, a, a lot of the covers of that records.
Okay.
You know, let's say, for example, um, well, I don't remember especially, but I got some records from the West Coast
Yeah.
um, alternative bands,
Uh-huh.
psychedelic bands,
Yeah.
and and my father didn't like the look of people
Yeah.
who was in the covers.
Right.
Eh?
Right. Right.
Um, he didn't like also the Beatles look, you know? And he used to tell me in Spanish, eh, you are not going so far listening to these invertidos.
Oh,
Invertidos
okay.
means, um,
It's bad. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
um,
It's
trying
negative.
to
Yeah.
not to say homosexuals or
Right.
faggots or that
Right.
kind of
Right.
expressions. He say invertidos. Um, he was he didn't like the
Yeah.
covers,
Yeah.
um, and also he was going afterward to like what I was listening to, the
Mm,
music. He didn't
mm.
like.
He didn't like it.
He didn't like it. Um, but I got, in fact, 60 and maybe about some other one in LA. So we can talk about 65, 66 records, a
Yeah.
lot of money to pay in the customs, a lot of
Yeah.
money to pay in the for the plane.
Uh-huh.
Uh, um, but it was all that collection was in, in it was the root, the
The root. Yeah.
roots,
The
yeah,
foundation. The foundation.
of my own learning,
Yeah.
and was the roots of the learning of a lot of people, um, musicians
Hmm.
that in Argentina didn't have possibilities of get
Yeah.
that records. So my collection included West Coast music from the hippie
Yeah.
movement, all Dylan's records, um, Ravi Shankar's Indian
Oh, okay.
music, classic music,
Uh-huh.
um, Coltrane, Miles Davis, um, well, a lot of things that were almost impossible to get outside the North Hemisphere,
Okay.
you
Yep.
know,
Yep.
because the record companies didn't publish that records in Argentina or South America
Yep.
because they thought there were no future for that music, and they were not going to happen anything with all that movement that was happening in the north of the planet.
Yep. Yep. Right. Right. They didn't promote it down there at all.
And
Mm.
yeah, and in with some of that music, especially Beatles and maybe some Rolling Stones song like "Get No Satisfaction," or that kind of great hits. What they do, well, they publish, of course, that records, and they try to make Spanish covers.
Oh,
I
okay.
mean,
Yeah.
that songs, but with words in Spanish
Yeah.
and and no future. They saw that there were no future for Dylan's music or blues music. Blues was absolutely out of. eh, they didn't know anything that was called blues.
Yes. Yeah. Right. But let me ask you this. Was Bubblin' Awe your first band?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. How did that come together? How did you
Well,
get?
well. Um, at first, my first project for for being a musician, for becoming a musician, and put together a band came when I got friend I got a friendship with Emilio Cowder, that guy that I
Okay.
told you that's living in LA now, right now.
Hmm.
He was playing piano. He was mostly into jazz music, um, kinds, for example, modern jazz quartet, Coltrane, Ornette Coleman, that kind of uh,
Connect.
very serious, and um, Dave Ravik,
Yes. Yes.
Dave Ravik. Um, and so I began to talk with him. Why don't try to make a band? Uh, we were going together without uh, concretizing, without putting together the band. And then I knew a guy that was a neighborhood. There was a neighbor was
Hmm.
living about half a block from my house. There was a very smart, intelligent, very a very up to date guy that was really very totally. Um, he knew perfectly what was happening with young people in the States and England. He understood a lot more than me the social and political and um, all that things that were happening with young people, all that real revolution was happening, and uh, I recover my friendship with him because he left the neighborhood and went to live some blocks from my house, and then I I recovered my friendship. One day I met him in the street, and we began to talk, and I discovered through him a lot of things that I didn't know about was what was the meaning of music at the
Oh.
time, and
Right.
what important was music at the time in that revolution that was happening. Like, as I told you, he was a lot more um, knowing a lot more than me about that. Also, with him, I discovered um, a lot of science fiction books.
Oh.
I was
Okay.
trying to get into science fiction, and he was into that also. Um, with him, I think it was kind of uh, it gave me impulse, gave me
Right.
extra power
Yes.
to get more into music.
It
To
motivated.
eh,
Motivation.
yeah,
Motivation. Yes.
and
Motivation. Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
and mainly I discovered with Daniel Armesto was the
Okay.
name.
Yeah.
Daniel Armesto. He discovered with him. I discovered with him um, what important was music for changing the world,
Yeah.
and
Right.
and 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 I discovered that I was interested in that, and that really a guy that was very extremely serious and shy was me, I'm talking about me,
Yeah,
uh, could change, um, could be able to change his life, my life, eh, into
yep,
something um, more real, more important. I didn't have really um, um, a profession that I was looking to be into very clearly. I thought about architect or maybe um, mathematics or physics, but I wasn't really interested. And I discovered that music was something that I really like. That I had some skills for that,
yeah,
and that I could be through music into some kind of movement or some kind of attitude that could be interesting for changing the world.
right, right. And music does have that power. Music does
Yeah,
have that. Yes, it does. I'm a very serious and sensitive person myself. So
yeah,
I understand. I understand. So you played on Los Abuelos de la Nada single Diana Divaga
yes.
in 1968. What did you think about that song? What did you,
Well, that song is great. Um, and I was already when I met um, Miguel Abuelo, that was the leader,
yeah.
Michael grandfather, no, Miguel Abuelo.
Yes.
Uh, when I
Yeah.
met him at the time, um, I was already trying to put together um, a band with Javier Martinez. Javier
Okay.
Martinez was drummer, singer, and composer that later um, was a member with me and Alejandro Medina of the trio Manal. Eh?
Yes.
As you
Yep.
mentioned, as you have had mentioned it before, um, um, so we were uh, talking about putting together a band, and I met Miguel Abuelo. He was also putting together Los Abuelos de la Nada, Los Abuelos de la Nada. Um, didn't have a guitar player at the time. He listened to me playing. He liked it, and he told me that, that they were going to record the first song for CBS.
Okay.
It means for a great company,
Yes. Big company. Yeah.
big
Yeah.
company. Um, and he told me to join them uh, and record the song. I told him that I was looking for play another kind of music, but it was okay for me to record with him for free, of course. Uh, yeah, it's important to understand that. Um, and in fact, we recorded. I liked the song. was was a kind of it had a lot of influences of Sgt. Pepper,
Yeah. Right. Right.
Beatles, uh, big LP um, that was very important at the time, um, and I tried um, to use a lot of things that I thought at the time that were psychedelic things.
Yeah.
Um, we were attracted and and I'm going back to Babbling O. We
Mhm.
were attracted by psychedelic aesthetics and
Okay.
psychedelic um, ambience and sounds, but we were not uh, really psychedelic people. There
Yeah.
were no
Yeah.
use of any kind of drug,
Yeah. Yeah.
at least in my in 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 my case and the friends I had at the time. Um, but we were listening to that music that we knew was psychedelic music, and we knew it was the result, the
Mhm.
the the consequences of using drugs,
Yes. Yes.
or talking in another words of having another kind uh, of a mind state.
Yes. Altered mind state. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So in terms of the sounds, I began to use that kind of sounds, and I use that sounds in Diana Divaga in the song with Los Abuelos de la Nada, and I uh, mm, made an arrangement in my guitar. I played two guitars in the record. Um, I uh, I tried to put some kind of Beatles feeling also in one
Uh-huh.
of the guitars. Um, and Miguel Abuelo, the leader, he liked it very much. Um, but as I told you, um, like 1 month afterward, um, they went to studio once again to play the other side of the single,
Hmm.
and and Miguel called me uh, once again, but he told me that if I were going to record it, um, I w- I I had to join the group. So I told him that I wasn't into that. I didn't record the B side.
Okay.
Um, so I was replaced in the band by a great uh, guitar player, let's say the second one in order in Argentina to play that style of new guitar that was appearing in that years. Papo, he
Okay.
replaced me. Papo Napolitano, he replaced me, um, and I didn't join a group. There was a very nice group, what was into a kind of music that I didn't like
Right.
really as my music.
Right. Right. Well, what was La Cueva Club?
Well, La Cueva
Mhm.
is a mythical place. Is a It's like the cave, the cavern. I
Or
mean,
the cap?
I mean
Okay.
the cavern in Liverpool. Is all all the all the books and all the chronicles about that time.
Uh-huh.
When mentioned La Cueva, uh, they write it was the cradle, the
Okay.
cradle of
Yeah.
Argentinian music, rock music, and the feeling and the inspiration
Hmm.
was Cavern Club in Liverpool.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, but I never went there,
Okay.
and a lot of other people that is considered now extremely important in the beginning and in the foundation of rock in Argentina, like Luis Alberto Spinetta.
Yeah.
Do you know him?
Yes.
Almendra,
Yes. Almendra. I like their music. Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
Papo,
Yeah.
and
Yes.
many more. Never put the boots on La Cueva. Never
Oh,
went into La Cueva. Um, but it's clear that La Cueva was the more epic
yeah.
place. And so it became, through the time, the more characteristic and
Yeah.
more, um, and it pays off,
Yeah.
because it has all the qualities for being the cradle of all our movement. But
Right.
I'm, I always repeat that were other places
Hmm.
like some bars, some uh, coffee places in the different neighborhoods, neighborhoods of Buenos Aires, and my high school. My high school
Uh-huh.
was a very important high school. It is called Nacional Colegio Nacional Buenos Aires,
Okay.
and
Okay.
is kind of the um, high school number one
Okay.
in the whole um, education system in Argentina.
Okay.
It's a very important and historical place. And from that school, from this school, um, came people like me, for example, and all the people who um, who founded the first record label in Argentina that went into discovering and publishing rock music in the 60s. The name is Mandioca
Okay.
label. It
Okay.
was the first independent independent label, and all the people who founded, who established Mandioca were
Hmm.
from the school, from the Nacional Buenos Aires.
Okay.
Um, mm, Three of them or four of them were my colleagues,
Is that
were
right? Okay.
in the college,
Hmm.
um, and it's a lot less attractive as a place for an epical uh,
Yeah.
history,
Right.
but it is real.
It's
They
true.
were an intellectual center,
Hmm.
very strong. Like we can talk about, for example, Berkeley's University.
Uh-huh.
No, it
Right.
wasn't a university. It wasn't only high school,
Yeah.
but at the time was very important, and was the place where a lot of intellectualities
Yeah.
um, s- came out to join the rock movement and to be important in the beginning of the movement.
Yes. Yes. Well, let's talk about Manal.
At first, Javier and me,
Hmm.
we were through several months
Okay.
trying to put together the band, a band, not a band, a band, one band. Um, but we couldn't. We couldn't. We mostly used the time when we got together, walking down the streets and going to some friends' houses and mm, drinking places or
Yeah.
trying to get chicks or
Yeah.
just talking or joining big tables in the bars uh, where learned, in fact, a lot of things about literature, music, politics, and all that kind of things. But um, we didn't have a rehearsal
Okay.
uh, mm, routine or do you say routine?
Yes,
Rehearse?
routine.
Yeah,
Yes.
we didn't have that. Um, we didn't have a place to meet and play, and
Okay.
we didn't have a bass player. That was
Okay.
very important. Um, we got together because Javier was an actor in a independent uh, independent half professional film,
Okay.
um, a big movie, um, Tiro de Gracia. Tiro de Gracia. Tiro de Gracia is the last shoot you do to kill someone. He was invited by the director Ricardo Becher, and he acted uh, doing a drummer. His personage, his
Oh,
uh, I don't remember the word. He was a drummer in the film,
right. Okay.
a, a young drummer. Um, at the time he was acting for the film, I I called a friend of mine who was owner of a very small recording studio very close to my house. Uh, I was living with my parents in a neighborhood that is called Caballito, Little
Okay.
Horse.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
That's the name of the place in the center of the city. I knew if I had a friend with a small studio. It wasn't common at the time that people um, had little studios. We got only big studios.
Right.
The independent and little studio they didn't exist. Was I knew one. He had a two tracks studio with
Okay.
some two tracks machine, and I paid by my own
Your own money.
money.
Yeah.
Yeah, I paid one whole day for for recording, of course, in a good price. He was my friend,
Right.
and 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 I took Javier. I took Emilio Cauderer, the guy who I I mentioned it,
Uh,
that is living in LA, who played the piano,
uh-huh.
and and Javier brought a friend of him who was a guitar player but came playing the bass, and we recorded about 6 7 hours of improvising,
Wow. Okay.
eh?
That's that's a lot. Yeah.
Like playing all day long
Mhm.
with just stopping for eating and drinking something, no drugs at all at the time. And we recorded 6 hours of a real interesting improvised music. Real with a lot of psychedelic soundings, um, all kind of influences, um, including Eastern music influences. In
Yep.
talking about my playing,
Uh-huh.
I was already listening to a lot of Indian music,
Yeah.
and so I was putting a lot of that stuff into my music.
Did,
Um,
did you ever, let me ask you, did you ever use a sitar? Did you ever play a sitar?
yeah, I got a sitar, and two
Okay.
sitars, and I play
Oh, okay.
sitar.
Okay.
Yeah. Ah.
Okay.
Um, and also, I'm right now. I was invited. I don't know how, and it in by and it came. The invitation came 1 hour before your first email.
Is that right?
eh, I was invited to play in a big festival in India.
Wow. Oh, okay.
And I tell you, it came 1 hour before your email.
Okay.
Yes, I thought someone was trying to confuse me. Eh,
Oh,
And I told
oh,
I told my wife, it must be a joke. I
yeah.
received a letter,
Uh-huh.
email from La India inviting me to a festival. And 1 hour afterward, I got an email from a guy who say he's in Texas, and
Uh-huh.
he's wanting to interview me.
Uh-huh.
I say it must be wrong, something wrong. And I didn't
You
call
know,
the police.
okay.
Uh,
You know, let me say this. You're just having a dream right now. This is not real. What we're doing right, you're just
I
dreaming.
know that. I know that. I know that. I know drugs. Uh, drugs spoiled my
You're
brain a long time ago. All that kind of things happen daily with me.
I'm just joking. I'm just
I
joking.
know. So, um, this music, with this improvisation, that was extremely good. What we did, um, we uh, we make a, 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 a vinyl record, one,
Right, right.
just one, in a place that you take in the at that time the tapes.
Uh-huh.
They put it into a seven to a 33 RPM record.
Yeah,
One.
yeah.
Um, and 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 that record, this record was only in my hands and in Javier Javier's hands only. Um, and Javier showed the record uh, to one of the people who was in the production of the film he was
Oh,
into.
okay.
Okay, and that guy decided that was very good
Hmm.
and told the director of the film's director,
Hmm.
about our music, and he decided that that was the music uh, for the film. A couple of months after, where we recorded that music, um, 1.5 or 2 years afterward. and is, and in fact, in the film, you have to take a look to the film
Okay.
because you are gonna listen a music by Manal. There is a, well, it's a long story. I won't tell you about that. It's a very good music. What we did for the
Okay.
film, we play it for the film. But after a couple of months, the same guy that listened to our record um, was he was called by people in a theater that was putting together a play uh,
Hmm.
that was called Viet Rock.
Okay.
Viet Rock was an American play. There was
Yeah. Viet rock. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, there was going to be done in Argentina in Spanish, of course, and they needed musicians and called me. The
Okay.
guy called me. I called Javier, and I told him, "Look, we got a good chance to begin to play together."
Yep.
And he told me, "Yes, but we don't have a bass player uh, because that guy that recorded with us didn't want to join us playing the bass."
Okay.
So I knew by other situations, I knew Alejandro Medina.
Okay.
That was considered at the time the best one in in the in the whole city. Eh, um, and I told Javier to 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 take with us Alejandro, but they didn't like it, wha- each other.
Each other? They didn't. Okay.
They
Okay.
they were like a cat and a dog.
A dog. Yeah.
Eh,
Yeah.
But that kind of dog, dog and cat, they don't live together,
Right. Right.
you know,
Right.
and they didn't like each other.
Yeah.
They didn't like each other. So um, I had to do uh, my movements, my uh, diplomatic
Yes.
work works,
Yeah. Yeah.
and finally um, we got together to do that job in the play, um, where we stood for about 2 months rehearsing with
Hmm.
with the actors and actress, um, and we didn't like the conditions, the economical conditions they offer us, the company offer us. And finally, Alejandro Medina, the bass player, told us, "Okay, let's go. We we gonna give up doing that, and let's go to my home. I got place to rehearsal, and we can try to put together a repertoire with soul music and some dancing music, especially soul,
Uh-huh.
and come with me, and we see what happens." And then, almost with spontaneity, we
Hmm.
got together. No one of us, no one of the three, were really um, um, making a proposition to the others
Yeah.
of put together a band.
Okay.
It came not naturally, um, and we saw very very quickly that we were able to do good music, and we were um, very different people,
Hmm.
but with a common um, horizon, with
Yes,
common ambition.
yes, yes,
And so, even against our differences,
yes.
we got together and it worked out.
It worked out. It worked out. I
It
want to
worked
hear.
out.
I wanted to hear about the live show at the Pinop Festival,
Yeah,
where the three of you, your equipment broke down, and the three of you started singing a cappella. You talk about
yeah,
that.
was great because yeah, it is the moment in the life, one of those moments in life. It could happen in all kind of situations, not only in professional situations, but in love situations, in in the life in general. Those moments where you you feel that you got it,
Yeah, yeah,
you
right,
got it.
right.
Um, and it happened with me very few times. One was that moment we got to the scenario. We went to play. Um, was the first time we were playing um, in front of almost 4,000 or 5,000 people,
Ooh,
a
wow,
lot of
wow.
people. Um, and we were feeling before that people, the public, was liking what we did,
Hmm.
but in the pinup festival in that moment, um, s- since the first moment, since the moment we got to a stage,
Hmm.
uh, we felt that people were in fact uh, in good vibrations with us,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
we began to play, and the excitement were growing and growing. And then happened all that. First, the pedal of the bass drum um, broke,
Oh,
um, and then one string from the bass, and then um, Javier, the drummer, got went to the front microphone and began to sing without playing the drums. Um, and I gave my guitar to Alejandro, to the bass player, and I took my harp, my harmonica,
hmm,
and well, and people got crazy and began to trying to get up to the stage,
stage. Oh, wow. Okay.
and at that moment I saw very clearly we got it. We are on the right way, and and this is happening, and this is gonna happening. Well, just I got it.
Yeah.
We got it.
Did let me ask you about the breakup of the band. Was that because of Javier and Alejandro just couldn't get along anymore?
I could say in the first year and a half, um, the 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 goal we were looking for, the
Uh-huh.
the the the, the direction we were l- trying to take, and we our ambitions in terms of arts and
Yeah.
music and changing the world and all that kind of things were very strong and us maintained us together.
Right.
After we began to have success,
Yeah.
to earn money,
Yeah.
to every each one of us uh, forming his uh, own uh, ambience and own his own wife and getting in the one of us um, proper life,
Yeah. Right.
individual life.
Yeah.
um, we began to establish distances
Uh-huh.
to getting far away one from the other,
Yeah.
and especially Javier, who in fact was the main composer,
Yeah.
almost exclusive composer of the group. He began to think that he could afford a single career,
Right. Right.
um, and and was one then happened um, a very a strong fact in the world. The Beatles
Yeah. Right.
separated.
Right. Right.
They separate. So when the Beatles separate and the dream was over,
Yeah. Yeah.
the dream was over. So was kind of a a signal, was kind of it, like saying, okay, so everything is finished.
Hmm.
Um, everyone could afford his own way, no more compromise with changing the world. We can start doing the same things that all people used to do.
Yes.
Um, and we felt liberated from the compromise of our generation, and in fact the dream was over.
Okay. Okay. Well, let me ask you this, Claudio. Does it seem like 50, around 50 years since the album with La Pesada? Does it seem like 50?
It seems like 50 years.
It seems
Yes,
like,
no.
oh,
I have um, a strong consciousness about the the the, the time,
yeah,
the, not in a sense of nostalgia
right.
or of losing things, but I've been moving a lot,
Yeah.
um, changing countries,
Yeah.
um,
Yes.
mm, traveling a lot, having a lot of experiences. So I feel that it, with happiness, the time went by.
Yes. Yes, it
You
did.
know, so I don't feel like
It does.
50 years were um, yesterday.
Right. Right.
Uh,
You packed in a lot of experience. You've done a lot of things in
yeah,
that. And
yeah, and I
yeah,
like it.
yes. Yes.
So I like a lot.
Yes.
Um,
Well,
the,
I wanted to ask you about that joining the band. That was Billy Bond's backing band, right? Billy Bond.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
but
How did you join? How did you come to join the band?
well, the band, the executive producer of the band was Jorge Alvarez.
Okay.
Also was the main producer and the owner, let's say it like that, of Mandioca, that first label I told you, eh,
Yes.
that was constructed build it up with Jorge Alvarez and 3 young um, people, students from my school, from my high school. Um, Jorge Alvarez was the producer of the La Pesada,
Okay.
and Billy Bond. Billy Bond was the studio producer.
Oh, okay.
Both were mm, my friends, and one the bass player and singer of the La Pesada was Alejandro Medina, the bass players from Manal.
Okay. Okay.
So they they uh, contact me. Um, I went to Brazil in the beginning of 1972. I went to visit Brazil, and when I went back to Argentina, I I had some stuff that I composed, some songs, and I decided to begin with my own career. So they offered me, um, they put in my hands the band,
Hmm.
and they offered me to record my own record, and I accept. It was I accepted. It was a fine offer. It was a fine situation, a familiar situation. I record. Um, I I recorded my songs to my first record, and immediately they offered me to join the group. They did. Until that moment was kind of a very uh, mm, in a stable
Unstable. Unstable. Yeah.
unstable group, changing members all the time. But after I joined the group, um, became a stable band that was that way with the same members until the end of the band that happened well few months after my incorporation.
Okay. Okay. Well, tell the Luna Park incident of October '72. Talk about that.
Well, I was talking exactly about that. Um, in fact, it happened the October 20th of 1972.
Okay.
We went to play in a festival. I mean, in a collective um, show with 5, 6, 7 other bands, all the main bands in the rock scene in Argentina, and, um, and Argentina was living a very bad moment with a strong police repression, a, a strong persecution of people with long hair and strange um clothes,
Yes.
um, and in general, in a bad moment, political moment, and social moment, and we knew that, and I mean, we, La Pesada, we we had news, um, confidential news, confidential, um, yes, news that something wrong were going to happen in was going to happen in the show. So, in fact, we went to the show and we found out a very bad um, feeling. There were a lot of police cars and police buses all
Mm,
around the um, the place, the Luna Park place. Luna Park is a stadium. It's
mhm.
a cover, it's a box boxing stadium,
Oh, okay. Okay.
and there were a lot of uh, police in the place, and the public were mm, uh, the public was very upset, and and the no we the La Pesada was scheduled to place the in the last band,
Okay.
so to close the show.
Yeah.
But the other bands, no one of the other bands, Papo, Color Humano, em, Los Gatos, em, I don't remember exactly which bands were there. No band um, felt into going
Yeah.
to play.
Right. Right.
So they didn't want to go to stage. So the only band they accept start the show was La Pesada. We went to play. Uh, we started playing one of my songs of the record. The
Mm.
the today it it seems there is making 15 years of publishing or
Uh-huh.
being published. And we went to stage. We began to play Fiebre de la Ruta. Fiebre de la Ruta. It means the roads fever, something
Oh.
like that. Highways fever.
Oh, highway.
Highways,
Yes,
the
highway.
Highways fever.
Yes.
That is inspired in a science fiction and a fantastic literature uh, tale that I wrote before that I before. Well, and we play that song that is a very heavy song, and the people got crazy in the stadium, the
Mm.
public, and began um, to break up everything, trying
Yeah.
to get closer to the stage. So we stopped playing the song, and Billy Bond, a leader and singer, uh, tried to calm down the people
Yeah.
and told them, please don't stop this violence. Uh, brings violence, all that kind of
Yes.
things to stop children's violence.
Yes.
And in it didn't happen. The thing was increasing all the time. Uh, so the police and the police forces and the security guards from the stadium began to beat people and to
Mm.
attack the audience,
Mhm.
um, and the whole stadium was almost destructed.
Mm. Wow.
Was a consequence of the whole situation was happening in Argentina. The whole situation was happening uh, um, secretly between the all social classes in Argentina against in our class. I mean, um, long-haired hippies, alternative people.
Yeah.
The rest of the society in Argentina was against um, uh, against us,
Yeah.
against rock music.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it was a thing that had to happen.
Yeah.
Um, it
Yeah.
was a very hard um, mm, sting, a
Yeah.
very hard beat
Yeah.
against
Well,
la. Eh?
well, you weren't hurt. None of the band members were hurt. Were you? Were you weren't hurt?
No,
Okay.
no,
Okay.
no, no. You can find out even a picture
Hmm.
of me on the stage with my guitar, an original Les Paul with an
Uh-huh.
S G shape, a
Uh-huh.
beautiful guitar. I had the guitar like this, and I'm
Uh-huh.
smiling at the
Uh-huh.
photographer
Uh-huh.
and 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 all the people trying to to get to the stage,
Uh-huh.
to get up to the stage. Um, no, we well, all the other bands left the stadium
Yeah.
like uh, half an hour before,
Hmm.
uh, or they left the stadium,
Okay.
and we, the members of the La Pesada, um, I was the last one to left. I remember. Billy Bone um, was arrested, was
Really? Really?
by the police. Yeah,
Huh.
he was at the at the police station about a couple of hours.
Hmm. Wow.
No, not more than that. How he was accused of um, of give the audience
Oh,
to incentivize. You can say like that.
inciting the riot.
Incentivize
Yeah,
the
inciting the
violence.
riot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the violence. But he didn't
He didn't
went.
do it. He
No,
didn't do it.
no.
No, they were trying to blame somebody. Yeah, they were trying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and this was a very hard time, also a very hard for the rock movement because
Yeah.
gave to the all the society's um, sectors
Yeah.
excuse
Yes.
for saying that we were no non-civilized people.
Right. Right. Exactly. Exactly. You see when you play, you see what the audience, how they act. Yeah. So you were not, yes, you were no good. Yeah. It was, it was good. It was ammunition. It gave them ammunition, is what it is.
Exactly.
Well, I wanted to ask you a couple of more things. Let's see here. You were a session musician for the Generis album,
Yes.
Vita. Did you
Yeah.
enjoy? Did you enjoy
A
playing on?
lot. A lot.
Yeah,
A
yeah,
lot.
yeah.
Eh,
I like that band.
eh,
Yeah, I like that.
I like it very much because I was a lot, as I told you, into folk music,
Hmm.
Dylan especially, and they got a little bit of this feeling in their music, and so it gave me the possibility of playing different things that the music I was usually playing with La Pesada.
Right, right.
Um, I put a lot of feeling into the recording of the songs. I was also doing the arrangements with Charlie Garcia. Eh?
Okay,
Um, so I got some responsibility in the what the music of sui generis results at the end. Was a very nice work. Um, about 1 month and a half ago, I was I had an interview by
Okay.
Enito Mestre.
Okay. Okay.
There was one of the sui generis. He got
Oh,
he got
okay.
a channel in YouTube like you do,
Okay.
and he does interviews
Okay.
um, with the name of his interviews are Rock and Road.
Rock and
Rock
Road.
and Road.
Okay. Got it.
You can look for the interview he
O-
he
Okay.
made me,
Okay.
um, and I was remembering with him the fact that I was um, the contact with the sui generis between the the La Pesada and sui generis,
Uh-huh.
and the I collaborate a lot doing the arrangements and doing well uh, trying to um, make my friends from La Pesada to get them closer to the sui generis music.
Oh, I see. Okay. Okay. Well, you also played in 1978 with Marcos Resende and Index.
Yes, yes, I lived. Well, I left Argentina in 1973,
Okay.
and I went to live in Rio de Janeiro.
Okay. Okay.
I used to live in Rio de Janeiro for about 13 years. So I learned Portuguese and
Uh,
am able to talk and write and read in Portuguese
is it
and
is it a lot different than Spanish? There's
a
some
lot,
similarities.
a
Okay.
lot. No,
A
no.
lot.
It's to understand. It's probably it has the same difference that exists between English and Danish
Okay.
or Germany. It's
Okay.
different. It's another language.
Okay.
Comp- Um, and I got into Brazilian music movement, especially um, instrumental um, music, yeah?
Yeah.
Music,
Yeah.
uh,
Instrumental.
and I've been playing with very good musicians from Brazil, and uh, and was a great experience, and not only with Index, Marco Resende Index, um, that in fact I joined the band after being living in the States for 1 year because I went to Berkeley College of Music in Boston, all the 76.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
that's right. That's right.
I went to Berkeley, so in Berkeley, I learned a lot about jazz music. I I became able to play a lot of things that there were not only rock and blues, um, that that was good for playing Brazilian instrumental music, and but I had another very good experience that was I played with a great singer. His name is um, Ney Matogrosso.
Okay. Okay.
He is a great singer, a great artist, a great personality. Um, um, was a very good experience. He was kind of a pioneer in that kind of bisexual or and now no very clear sexual qualities that
Right.
after him developed Alice Cooper or
Yeah.
David Bowie, for example,
Yeah.
or some others.
Uh-huh.
Um, there was
Androgynous. And
a,
androgynous. Androgynous.
that is the right word,
Yeah.
is exactly.
Yeah.
Um, and we got a outstanding band with very good musicians. We traveled a lot all around Brazil, and and there was a very good possibility for playing well, a different kind of music too. Even um, in the well, I was playing in the band electric guitar, mandolin,
Okay.
and sitar also.
Ah, okay. Okay.
So it was very good.
Yeah. I like the mandolin. I like the sound of the mandolin. I like that.
I like
That
too. You
yeah.
can see there,
Right there behind you.
yeah, there,
That's
my
right.
Brazilian mandolin. Yeah.
Ah, okay. There you go. There you go. Pluck the strings. Well, how did the band La Nave get together? La Nave.
Well, it was a really more a friends reunion, a friends meeting, a friends project, the
Okay.
music band.
Okay.
Um, we got together because we had um, common interests and different things, especially in enjoying life
Uh-huh.
more than similar or according uh, musical skills.
Okay. Okay.
So we had a lot of joy during our existence, um, but we didn't really establish a musical group.
Okay.
Um, the same way it began, it finished,
Okay.
and after less than 1 year. Um, Even so, oh, um, uh, my playing in the record of La Nave is good. I like very much. I was in a very good moment playing. I
Mm-hmm.
was very involved into playing and practicing a lot my instrument. And and I like what I did in the record. It has very good moments of my playing, but I
Mm-hmm.
don't have the whole thing. And I told you one more time, um, wasn't more um, uh, something for enjoying
Yeah.
life than
Yeah.
for playing music.
Right. 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 You didn't want to start a new career with that band or
No,
something
no,
like no,
no, it was
no,
impossible.
no, it wasn't. Well, in 89, 1989, you moved to Madrid and then you taught jazz and modern music for a few years. You were teaching.
Yeah,
Did you
yeah,
enjoy that? Did you enjoy
yeah,
that?
a lot. I like very much to teach. Um, in fact, my 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 job, the job I got in a little modern music school in Madrid, little at the beginning, uh, was my first experience in all my life doing real job.
Okay.
Working all days with an hour to get into the school and an hour to leave. um, they create in this little school a um, special title for my special name for my work. They call it Jefe de Estudios. It means it's like a chairman, something like
Yeah.
that. I
Yeah.
was the chief of all teachers, and the
Uh-huh.
organizer of the whole teaching
Uh-huh.
structure. I
Yeah.
was 13 years in the school. I began being chairman or something like that.
Hmm.
Um, and after 13 years, I was director. I was during 3 years the the uh, main authority in the school, and I left the school. I left the school in 2003,
Oh,
eh,
okay. Okay.
20 years ago, and I left the school with 1,200 students.
That's a lot. Yeah.
A
Wow.
lot. I worked a lot. It was very good. I
Mhm.
learned a lot about working, about responsibilities. I work a lot about teaching music and teaching in general. And after that, I was able to do another kind of work that is
Mhm.
very important in my career. In my career, there is writing books. Uh,
Ah, okay.
I wrote two books. One is harmony book. Harmony is this one.
That one. Okay. Okay. Ah, okay.
It is called uh, Armonía Funcional. I mean functional harmony.
Okay.
There is
Okay.
a special view, a special concept about modern harmony that comes um, from several 20th century great teachers. Uh, and after this book, I wrote another one. This book is from 2006.
Okay.
And after it, I wrote another one about pentatonic scales. There is something extremely related with blues and
Uh-huh.
rock music.
Uh-huh.
Um, and this one especially, this this fat
Uh-huh.
book
Yes.
is about
Yeah.
more
How
than
many?
400 pages.
Wow. Wow.
It's
Wow.
a bestseller, Greg.
Really? Really? Okay.
Yeah, it is a bestseller. It is um, maybe probably the main the most sold the most uh, successful book
Mm.
about modern harmony in
Yeah.
the whole uh, Spanish talking community.
Interesting.
And
Wow.
and so you can understand in my concerts, in the concerts, um, I I receive I sign more
Autograph.
books after the concert
Uh-huh.
than records. Eh,
Yeah. Yeah.
I would like at least that
About the same.
it could be the same, but in fact,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
sign
More book.
more books all around Argentina
Uh-huh.
and in another countries the same,
Yeah. Yeah.
and here in Spain also.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a because it seems there is well there are no more books about this matter, and a couple more maybe in the Spanish language, and maybe mine is better.
Right. Well,
I,
you cornered the market is what you did. You cornered the market in that
yeah, yeah. It's
nobody
a
else
happy
could. Nobody else.
it's a happy fact for me because to write a book to 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 create a book is a
Yeah.
very hard work.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you are if you read anytime Groucho Marx
Yeah.
book, he has a chapter in one of his books when he talks about what is to write a book, and he says it's a boring thing. It's not it's not really something to enjoy.
Right.
So to do books, I like to write, and in
Hmm.
fact, I'm working now in
Oh,
autobiography,
yes. Yes.
talking about all the things that we were talking about now. Um, but
Well,
it's a hard work.
I
So
was gonna.
so I'm
Yeah.
happy this book is successful because it's a mathematical book. It's something about science. So it's really a good thing that a hard thing like this could be successful.
Yes. Yes. Well, yeah. Your autobiography is going to be really thick too, isn't it? It's going to be really like this thick.
Um,
It's
I,
going to be.
well, I have a lot of I got a lot of things to tell.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but I have to be economical.
Yeah.
But I think that I can reach the 400 format for sure. 400 pages. Yeah,
You can do that for sure. You can fit it all into 400
yeah,
pages. You can do
yeah.
that.
And as you see, I like very much to talk, even
Yeah.
in a different language.
Well, that's what I bank on when I do these interviews is that the other person likes to talk because that makes it easy for me. You know what I'm saying? It makes it easy.
Yes,
If
yeah,
you like to talk,
I
if
can
you like to
figure.
talk.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So I
When
don't have to think about questions and I don't have to come up with a lot of questions. So it's always good when you like to
yeah,
talk.
I
That
talk
makes
too much. You mean that's what
no,
you're meaning?
no, I don't think so. But
No,
what one other thing I wanted to add before is just this year. What month in this year did were you honored by La Biblioteca del Congreso de la Nación
yes.
for the award Outstanding Personality in Argentine Music and Culture? When
Well,
did that?
you have to you have to um, recognize. You have to understand what is the institution.
Yes,
The institution is the same of the Congress library of the
right,
Congress of the United States.
right,
It's the
right.
same. I mean, when you talk about the Library of the Congress, you are talking about a very serious and out of the political scene
Yeah,
thing. It's
yeah,
something like it's a preservation
yeah.
um,
Right.
institution like the Smithsonian or
Estonian, yeah,
it's a very serious institution with um, a weight the is completely um, out of uh, um, the normal things. It's a very respectable thing. eh. The same is the Biblioteca del Congreso, that means the same in
uh-huh,
Argentina.
yeah,
It belongs to the Congress. There is a political institution, but it's out of the political scene.
right.
So, since some years ago, I don't know exactly how many, they um, bring, they, uh, mm, they, how can you say, they give a distinction. They give a grant to some people that has mm, it's the means something in the culture of the country, Argentina, and especially in the not only music, but especially in the music field,
Mhm.
they give a distinction as one that has given um, a something. Well, I don't know how which word to use. Something that is they want to
Recognize,
esta-
recognize. Yeah, and
yeah,
say
yeah,
what you've contributed to music and to Argentina, and it's like a lifetime achievement. Is that what it's like? Like a lifetime?
exactly. It's for your career for
Yeah,
well, what I did.
yeah,
Uh, well, I think I've been uh, I didn't I didn't change my ethics
yes, right.
in all along my career. Um, I I've been all the time um, uh, expanding
Yeah,
expanding my my skills, not only playing
right,
but also writing a book or
right.
teaching. Uh, I've been all the time defending in some ways um, my ideas about changing the world and in making the world a better thing.
Mhm.
Um, and I, 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 I'm happy. I like that these people that has given me this diploma,
Yeah,
has this grant, um, recognize this kind of quality,
right.
uh, all those qualities, because it's it's something that is saying okay to the human
Mm.
and to the humanists. You use that word, humanist.
Humanity,
Uh,
humanities. Yeah,
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 that is what I've been doing all my life,
right.
and really I like to have it, and still alive
Uh-huh.
and still doing things
Yeah,
because it gives me a lot of hope
yes.
for doing more things. I'm gonna try to spend the rest of my life, the years that are coming now, uh, trying to do more things and trying to do more contributions
Yeah.
to musical movement in Argentina and all around the world.
Well, thank you, Claudio. I really appreciate you doing this. Continued success to you, and everything. And we will be in touch. Let's try and keep in
Okay,
touch. Try and keep in touch. And let's see what kind of comments we get.
okay. Well,
From
thank
this.
you very much to you, and send me the link as
I
soon
will.
as you got it
I will.
so I can share it with my my Spanish talking
Yes.
people
Yes.
and recommend them
That's
to learn English as soon as possible,
there you
or
go.
at least Texan English.
That's right. It's a different English here in Texas.
I'm sure. I'm sure.
We'll be in touch and bye for
Bye
now.
bye.
All
Bye
right, bye.
bye.